Yes. Ooh. So, two things. First things first. Sorry about this. Yes, housework has not progressed still. The reason why is a two-prong issue. One, people keep starting to feel like crap. Two, we just had a medical thing go on, so yeah, no progress has really been made. Oh well. Now, number two. The way I have to start this video is very different than normal, and for that, brace yourselves. The first thing I have to do is I start with just a little heads up of there was supposed to have been a guest for today. Now, the sucky thing is real life is what real life does best. Made that difficult. So sadly, the guest wasn't able to appear. I don't really have a name for any channels or stuff like that, so I can't shout them out right away, sadly. I'll have to add that stuff into the description later, sadly, instead of just now, which I would have preferred. But oh well, it is the way that it is, and real life got to come first. So, when we're going to be talking about Elden Ring. Not just talking about. I'm actually doing a review for Elden Ring right now. In case the title wasn't good enough of a giveaway. Basically, before I even start this, I have to give two big kind of warnings, two big heads up notices. One, I love Elden Ring. Before I go to the next thing, let me make this very quick. This disclaimer is very important. I love Elden Ring. I would never have been willing to, mind you, this is not including experiment characters. I would not have put in over 114 hours into a game I don't like. I love Elden Ring. And while I do kind of need to make this clear here, our scores, they're not going to match up. Let's just be honest. Someone who doesn't like Elden Ring or doesn't like Souls-like games is going to always rate this lower than I will. Those who think that Elden Ring, that Souls, that all these other types like it have no room for improvement, there's no way they can ever get better, those type are never going to agree with me. Let's be honest. As someone who does love Elden Ring, does love Souls games in general, really, we're not going to agree on this. But I want to make this clear here. I can also very much understand where both sides are coming from when it comes to this, in all honesty. Now, I will also state this ahead of time. This isn't really a disclaimer, it's just a heads up notice. I'm going to start with the negatives. The reason why is because the amount of yakking I'm going to do when it comes to the negatives is going to be so much shorter than positives or nitpicks. Oh god, that nitpick section is going to be long. Now, I am very happy to say this, to a point where I'm trying not to smile like an idiot or giggle like a schoolgirl. And boy, is that difficult right now. When it comes to Elden Ring, I am so happy to say that there are only two actual core problems. And I'm even more happy to state that these two big problems are an easy fix. Alright? Thank goodness for that. I'm happy when those things happen. Especially when one problem is not only an easy fix, but has plethora of fixes that can be done. Now, the first problem I'm going to talk about is the one that's the easiest, but only really has like one real direct way to fix the issue, and that's server. The Elden Ring servers, from my experience, and this is, mind you, this is 1.04. Hold on, let me try to remember how to say this without screwing up words, because English sucks to perform. Basically, I am playing version number 1.04.1. Now, I'm also going to make this very clear. This is also on PS4. From my knowledge, PC guys don't have some of the issues that PS4 is having currently, from my knowledge. Now, I don't know that for fact. I do have a buddy who I kind of have talked about. I've talked to Smab about this a little bit, and Smab is doing it on PC. So I mean, now the servers, in my experience, have not been good. Now it's gotten supposed from the looks of it, it might be working on a band-aid already on it, or might be slowly starting to patch it now, maybe. But I have noticed some issues with servers. The first couple, like I think 4 or 5 days in the game, I was impressed and shocked if I got to play for 1 hour before getting yanked to the title screen because there was a server issue. Now, I don't think it's a problem that will stay, thankfully. So, to people who watch this video in the future, be ready to add a point right off the bat. Now, problem number 2 is a weird problem. Because it's a problem that doesn't actually start to too badly bug you until the last 4 fights of the game. Then it becomes a bit excessive. It becomes a bit ridiculous. But, like I said, there's an easy fix for it. In fact, there's a couple easy fixes for it. Now, currently, at the, I don't want to say names, but at the fourth to last, the last 4 boss fights, right? It is an absolute nightmare trying to summon a rando. One rando. In fact, so much so that I actually tried 72 times to summon one random player and was not able to summon a random player. No, I didn't have password on. Yes, I did pop the fur calling remedy. And I've done this ranging from when my internet is, because my internet is Spectrum, so it's ungod tier trash. It's god awful. And yet, there are times where Spectrum was firing at all cylinders, perfectly fine, perfectly normal, and I still wasn't able to summon anybody at all. So no, it's not entirely my internet provider's fault this time. Keyword this time. I bet you money they'll screw it up next time. I guarantee you that. But that's kind of where the problem starts to chime in here. Is that, in all, no one should have to attempt 72 times to summon one person and for no one's name to actually go through. No. That sucked. It was annoying and frustrating. Finally, thankfully, the person who was supposed to be my guest here, Gamin, thankfully they were freaking merciful and said, you know what? Let me help you out. Let me help you out on this. And you know what? Even though it bums the hell out of me that he wasn't able to show up for this review, for all the freaking limitless help the homie has offered, I am putting a link to his shit in that description the instant he gives me stuff. And I swear to God, alright, if you're watching this, I'm not joking, I will hound you about it if I have to, bro. Give me the links I'll need, and I'm putting them in the description, alright? If you got a Twitch or YouTube, I am pimping it out. End of discussion, sir. Got it? For all the help that he has given me, I owe him that bare freaking minimum. End of discussion. I literally would not have completed the game if not for Ergetlum. A large chunk of whatever issues I have with the game, I'm actually happy to say that there's really nothing huge outside those two. There really isn't. Like, I started trying to dig for something, but I don't really feel like there was anything that was worth real point droppage here. There was some stuff worth there was a couple things worth noting, but not really worth point dropping of any kind, really. For example, both me and Ergetlum both feel like the underground catacomb dungeony stuff, those were alright, but they kind of felt too similar to each other. They kind of needed more variation to them. Um, I also was feeling kind of like a repetition between some bosses, even. I mean, how many times can you fight the same weird tree branch worm thing that it's just, it kind of sucks because those dudes are so many places I've lost kind of count. But half because I didn't even know I needed to keep count of these guys. I didn't think I was going to run into these guys so much, but I do. Now, sometimes, but not often enough, you'll get like an element variation. Like there's this cool, well, not cool because it's too used, but there's like a monkey that has a monkey statue that can breathe fire. Well, eventually, after like the third or fourth one, I finally found one that did ice, which was kind of neat, but it also kind of sucked that at the end of these catacombs, there really wasn't much to them to begin with, and there really wasn't much to the end of them either, which kind of sucked. Sometimes you'll get a small variation, like a chariot dude will chase you, and if he catches up with you and you don't have like stupid high health, he can pretty much one shot kill you if you are unlucky enough to not know where you're going or not be paying attention. Which that helped, but it quickly boiled down to there's three types: the chariot, the specter, and then the standard. That's it. There really isn't much else. Sometimes the chariot dudes will have a lava, but that's it. It just kind of sucks because it doesn't really feel like you're really doing anything that you haven't done already. They kind of quickly become too similar and become hard to convince yourself to do more of, especially once you have the materials that you need to kind of kill off one of the big benefits to going into them, which kind of sucks, if I'm honest. Oh, yeah, there's some cool gear. Those are there, and those will help you actually convince yourself to do them. But outside of that gear, if you already have something you like and you want to stick with, going to them becomes a bit more of a hard argument to justify for yourself. Now, this isn't going to be for everyone, obviously. Some people who are hardcore completionist nutcases, you guys will love it then. But to me, it's just, as someone who's not normally, someone who's kind of like a pseudo completionist on average, for me, it just, I didn't feel like there was really enough of a justification for me to complete all of them. There was enough for me to complete as many as I did, but not really much more else, to be honest. And that part kind of sucked a little bit. It's by no means, though, is it worth truly point dropping because they're not the big focus of the game. They're not where you're supposed to be putting all your time into, obviously. Now, there is one thing, but this is an issue that is apparently only on the PS4's end. My buddy Smab, who's playing it on PC, actually showed me, hey, here's all these options that you're not getting because apparently it's a bug. See, that's the thing is, right now, as of in the current version for me, which is 1.04.1, that right now, as it stands, the for example, the weapon I used and I'm having this issue with especially is the Venomous Fang. Now, the Venomous Fang has wound up being probably my favorite weapon I've used in this game, personally. Here's the problem though. Venomous Fang can have these Ashes of War as of right now on the PS4 in version 1.04.1. I can have Storm Stomp. I could reattach the Quick Step I already have. I could attach Bloodhound Quick Step or Lifesteal. That's it. That is all. And if I attach Lifesteal, I can't apply a bleed damage output either. What? And that's kind of the issue right now is that for right now, and this could be this could be fixed later down the line. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, for me, it's an issue, but considering it's really only happening because I'm using the Venomous Fang and not because I'm using, say, your average sword, it's not as much of an issue, and it's not going to affect as many players either. It's just going to affect me and this character I'm playing, which sucks. Yes, it does, but as much as it does suck, it's also not the worst thing compared to those two actual big problems, it's not even really worth docking a point over, really. Now, like I said, it has to be a bug on the PS4 end and at this current version because the PC does not have this issue. Like Smab actually screen shared and showed me, oh, this has to be a bug because here's ton of options for you. Options that weren't even being bothered to show up on my end. So it it sucks, but it's not gonna hamper other people who don't use this weapon, and it also is only hampering me just because I'm on the PS4, or just it could just be bad luck. It could be any number of things, really. Um, there's really nothing that actually screams drop a point for this because it was either A, bad, or B, hurt your experience. I didn't really have that. I mean, I almost had that, but Air Getlem saved the day. I almost dropped a point for the fact that the ending cutscene of the base game, the base ending cutscene, where you become what everyone's expecting you to become, the Elden Lord. I was going to dock a point because it's only 2 minutes long, which kind of pissed me off. And then how there was like just no fanfare for it at all, which bummed me out. But then Eric Getlem chimed in and said, actually, if it helps, no, there's 6 endings here aside from that ending. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you just actually helped save this little sucker. Okay, so there's 6 endings. Okay, do they last a little longer? Because then I can't do as much as I'd like to do, which is give the full point back per se. But he said, yeah, they are. They do last a little bit longer. They're all a little bit different, which that made me that put a smile back onto my face because I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't want to drop any points. I really don't. In fact, the fewer points I have to remove, the happier my stupid self is, and the more I smile like an idiot. And I'm smiling like an idiot. See, see. Um, I will say there are so many nitpicks I could bring up. I want to save those for later, so I'm going to jump into the good. There's a lot of good here, actually, in fact. But while there are plenty of good things here, there are specific ones that are like, this was a 10 brain move. And I want to showcase those primarily. So, first things first, the decision to go to open world. I've had a lot of fun exploring it. Now, the next good thing I have to talk about is the soundtrack, the music. So very well done. I love it. I like how it feels very unique and separate from Dark Souls and separate from other games. It is a good soundtrack. And knew right when I heard it, I'd never get sick of it. I kind of wish I had a soundtrack for it or a CD for it right about now, to be honest with you, but yeah. Really good. Really good. Well timed at times, making me feel tense and unnerved as all hell at times. Wonderfully done. Um, they did bring back dual wielding, although I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like they've made it a little bit more restrictive at times. Not quite as restricted as I was afraid of, I'll admit, but they did make it a little more restrictive than say that of Dark Souls 2. Yes, I get that Elden Ring's supposed to be its own thing, but I don't always feel that part at times. Now, I will state after sitting and thinking on it, I don't feel like how the parts that are too much like past Dark Souls games, after thinking on it and sitting on it and sleeping on it, I don't feel like they're really point drop worthy. I feel like they're just like kind of take note of worthy, and that's it. And even then, loosely. Because for every moment where it's like, this feels too much like Dark Souls, there's at least then another bit right after that where it's like, This is Elden Ring and nobody else. Thankfully. I love that fact, is that even though it sucks that there are moments where it's too much, there are tons of other moments, or if not just as many moments, where it's like, no, this isn't exactly like it, don't worry. And I appreciate that, personally. Um, I know not everyone's going to agree on this, but for me, this is, we got to slide into nitpicks sooner or later. I want to start off with this. Summoning ashes. Some of them are okay and can be good. Others are so retardedly bad that I want to know why they're even in the game and why you wasted someone's time to develop them or put animations to them or anything really. One great example, 5 Wandering Nobles, or as I call them, 5 Wandering Pieces of Trash. Sorry. Let me just be completely honest with you. If you're someone who likes them, I don't blame you entirely. I like the concept as well. But for me, my whole issue is the execution of the concept that I have a problem with. Because it's very hit and very miss. It all depends on which one are you using. Are you using the 5 Wandering Noble Ashes? If so, you are either an excessively extreme level of masochist, to a point where you make all masochistic characters from anything ever made look like frickin' saints or sadists. If you're using like jellyfish, mimic tier, they're great. Mimic tier is especially friggin' awesome and useful, especially if you're solo playing. It is priceless. Damn level priceless. And that's before you upgrade it. Whew. When it comes down to it, there's some that are, like I said, they're really good, really useful, and then there's just some that are just either so have such poor AI or are just so poor that to use them is the exact equivalency of punishing yourself limitlessly. So I'm not gonna harp on them too much longer. They are though worth noting that their AI for half of them is trash. A quarter of them are just trash themselves, and then there's the rest, which are range from good to freaking priceless. Great. Um, it does have some really weird restrictions that don't make any damn sense to me at all. I see no point on why you can only have use only one in an entire fight. Especially for bosses that have multiple stages, well, you better hope that that the AI that day for whatever you summon had magically become sentient or some crap. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting that second phase alone, regardless of any other factoids. Because if you're summoning ashes in that first phase, you better hope it survives that whole first phase. Because you cannot summon during a second phase. What? And on top of that, I can only summon one? Only one? Really? Why? That makes no damn sense. Especially since like I said, between how much of them are just not all that great to begin with, it kind of sucks to only be restricted to one summoning ash and only for one whole fight. That includes if there's a second phase. If it dies, that freaking doesn't matter that now you've started the second phase and you're by yourself part. Doesn't matter. It still counts as that first fight, so good luck. That part to me kind of sucks, and I kind of wish wasn't a thing, or I wish that at the bare minimum I could have summoned it again for that second phase then. Especially since some of these second phases are pretty freaking ridiculous, especially at the last 4 area. Yeah, those kind of sucked. In all honesty, they kind of suck. Some of these boss fights for their second phase are just like, okay, I get to summon him again, right? I do, right? You're pitting this against me that does all this tons of effed up crap that's going to be a nightmare to deal with. I do get to summon him again, right? No? Take it up, butt? Okay. It kind of sucks. Honestly, it really does. But again, that's not the worst. That's not actually bad enough or game hampering enough to really justify point droppage. But it is kind of worth noting that it'd be nice if, for a second phase, I wish it would kind of allow me, especially for the ending four. Especially, I was wishing that I could summon one more time. I For me, I have such mixed feelings with the animations. I really do. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I that's not I don't hate them. It's not like it's gonna ruin the game. It's not point drop worthy for me ever. It is There is something I kind of wish would have been done by now, because to me it's such a stupidly simple thing that should have already been here. Which is having a separate set of animations where you're not slamming your weapon in the ground. It doesn't have to apply to bosses before anyone thinks of balancing. Let me say this right now. It doesn't have to apply for bosses, for one. And two, you could set restrictions and things to make it so that this way you have to meet a certain criteria to use it. All right? For example, one thing you could do is make it so that when you are going to do this, you want to unlock this second set of animations where you may not be using the sword amazingly. You may not be using it the way a master would, but it would be kind of nice if when you get to a certain stat point, where, for example, just one example of what I can give of what I'm talking about here, okay? When you reach to a point and you grab, say, the Lord Sorn's longsword, all right? Let's say that. Which, for those of you who don't know, that has a very basic requirement of you need 10 strength, 10 dex in order to wield it. Well, if you have 10 dex and 10 strength, the usual animation you always see, tried, tested, proved, and all that crap. But it'd be nice if, for example, once you reach 3 times what the base requirement is, all of a sudden now your animation is changed. Now your character is not slashing quite as excessively. Now instead of having to do this wind up from right here, now instead it's a wind up from right here. Because that's really about what you need to do a decent cut into any Joe Schmo off a block. Some of us, like myself, we don't like seeing someone take a nice, lovely sword and plant it in the dirt during a swing. Mm. And I use the word dirt to specify ground, not because they're actually throwing it into the dirt more often. The more often they're throwing it into concrete, stone, the 9 yards, which internally bugs types like me. All I'm saying is please just don't put it into the ground. If it ain't a hammer, it don't go into stone and it don't go into concrete. Mm. it kind of just, when I see a really nice good sword being swung from right back here right into like the ground, into stone and so on, it makes my whole body cringe. It doesn't feel good. Mm-mm. It bugs me inside immensely and makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable. It's like people who, with fresh from KFC fingers, start like rubbing all up and down the clear side of a disc. The side that's supposed to be red by the machine. It's kind of like that. It's like someone took your favorite CD and just, with the greasiest slop, just and just rubbed it in. Mm-mm. 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 Oh, it just makes my body lock up even thinking of it. Mm. I just kind of wish that, not even necessarily animations that are quicker, more responsive, or more realistic. No, I just wish you wouldn't slam it into the ground. That's all I wish. I don't even care if you still do the full wind up. Just please don't plant it in the freaking concrete. Don't slam it into the freaking stone. Please don't. And if you're like me, that means that there's going to be a huge, huge emphasis to utilize weapons maybe you weren't really that interested in or didn't really scream that they had the look you were going to go for or the way you wanted to do things. But it puts a big emphasis on spears. It puts a big emphasis on thrusting weapons because kind of hard to pierce the dirt, stab stone or concrete if you're not, you know, aiming there at all ever for anything. But like I said, it's kind of an issue for me. It's like it. I don't blame other people who don't feel that way. I get it. While would it be cool to have see combat change maybe a little bit in its overall design or pacing or such based off of what skill level you're at because that would be heavily realistic. But let's be honest, after arguing with myself and some of my community members, if they are watching this, uh, I will say my idea of realism and what I think a game's idea of realism should be are not the same. I don't think it should mimic everything the real world does, but in the real world, the overall mindset of sword combat changes based off of one, how much experience you have, and two, if you don't have tons of experience, were you trained by someone who has tons of experience? Well, I don't think you need to go to a point where like you're utilizing some of the more real worldy tactics. And I don't think bosses should necessarily implement them either per se. I just kind of wish that the one realism that was put in is swords don't slam into stone. That's the only realism that I asked for, really. That's the only realism I truly care about, even, really. Is that this sword goes into my opponent, or it does not go into anything other than a sheath. No stone, no concrete, no buildings, no doors, no nothing. That's the only thing for me that I kind of wish. Is that was the realism that was added. No more swords going into stones, because it really does cause me so much internal pain to see it happen. Now, maybe I'm the odd one out, and let's be real, anyone who knows me knows I am completely backcrap, insane. So, wouldn't be surprising. But I still wish that was the 1 ounce of realism that was added, is swords do not go into the ground. Now, this nitpick, I'm not sure how I feel about. Character creator. I feel like the character creator kind of just sucks. Or maybe it's the model that the character creation model that sucks. I don't really know. I mean, let me put a giant asterisk to that and be completely honest and upfront with you guys on this simple fact is that for me, while even though the character creator kind of sucked to work with at first, I will admit I did eventually, after putting in 4 hours, I did eventually make a character. Granted, I wasn't able to do what I was intending, which is make me, or at least as close to me as I could. I will say I did something more hard to predict and bonkers, which is I made one of my cousins. Which, how did I fail to make me, but was able to make my better looking cousin after putting 4 hours in? Is what I would love to know someday. But I digress. In the end, it's kind of a puzzling thing because it's like if you put enough time into it, if you put if you put an hour or more into the character creator, you'll make something good eventually, but not because you use the base character model much, probably. Probably because you altered the living hell out of it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing or a point drop thing, but it's just like a why? Why is your character creator bad? Why do you have a really awkward character model? Why does it just not look right? Even with just like surface level tampering, it's hard to make the character look right in their face. And the being I kind of wish they would let me customize the body type more often. Or not more often, more in depth is what I should be saying here. More in depth. Because, I mean, cool, I get to now control the amount of body hair on the character. That part's dope and all that, but if you're someone who is gonna play the chick, I hate to break it to you. There's no way to actually customize boob size if you want to go that route. All right, that's not something you could do. You increase your whole torso size, and that is it. That is as close as you can get to customizing your characters more physical aspects further. That's as good as you get, which I'm not a big fan of. I kind of would have liked more depth to it. I would have liked to have been able to do more than just my character has this skinny body type only, uh, muscles or no muscles, and even then, it's not like it adds fat onto your character or anything like that. No, it just makes your character a freaking stick, and that's about it. Uh, the most in depth you're ever gonna get is with your character's face, and even then, it feels kind of like a mixed bag between both not too good and passable. So I'm not really sure. I don't feel like it's worth docking points because you're not going to stay in character creator. This game isn't character creator sim. No. You're meant to make the character, then cover all that crap up with either armor, gear, or whatever have you to make the character look how you want them to. And like I said, if you put enough time into it, you can make the character look good. You can. In fact, I even advised a buddy of mine, Bomber, to do that because it would help invest him more into the character. And it actually did supposedly help a little bit. I don't know by how much, and I'm not going to pretend to know how much because we haven't been able to play together even once due to this game being weird about it. And that leads me into the next nitpick. I wish that the overall multiplayer experience for cooperation was either a bit smoother or just better as a whole. That's my whole thing. To me, it's a nitpick because it's not worth dropping points, but I wouldn't say it's a positive thing for it. Is that I've been trying to play with a buddy of mine, Bomber, for way too long. We had the same passwords. We checked everything 3, 4, 6, 10 times. I think by now we've checked everything. We've checked online. Nothing. No one's having this apparently issue. Apparently, or no one's talking about it. I don't know. But I tried. We tried so many times. We tried with both my characters, which already had done fights beforehand, and even brand new characters made just that moment. And none of it worked at all. We tried to take on Tree Sentinel together. That never worked. We tried taking on freaking Morgott. We tried finding Morgott so many times. We couldn't even friggin' get anything to go run. Ever. Not even once. Not even once. Which completely sucked. The fact that we weren't even able to do a single thing together. And like I said, we checked everything. We ran through it so many times. Oh my god. It was ridiculous. We shouldn't be having this issue. Alright? We really shouldn't. We shouldn't be having any issue. We have everything completely correct when it comes to the password setup. And we weren't able to see either of each other's freaking summon signs, no matter what we did, no matter how many times we tried. And we tried a lot, okay? And for some reason, it just didn't work. Wouldn't even show us our signs to each other at all. Which sucked, trying to fight to do that. Like I said, though, it sucks me and Bomber haven't been able to run together, but it's not the end of the world, technically, because from the way it's looking, it looks like this isn't happening to other people, from what I can tell. From what little I've been able to find, it's not an issue for other people, which is, it's great if you're not having this issue. If the PC guys aren't having an issue with this, great. If other PS4 players aren't having this issue either, even better. But it's just, trying to play this game together has been kind of a nightmare because it won't work no matter what. No matter what I do. No matter what either of us tries. No matter how many videos we look up trying to find what the issue is, no matter how many times we try to troubleshoot the issue, it doesn't work. It won't work. It won't show us. It won't show up. It won't function. Well, oh well. It sucks. It bites. It blows. But that's the way it goes. Great. I think that's about it for nitpicks. I think what I want to do is before I go to the verdict, I want to say some stuff that I think would be kind of cool things to think about adding for Elden Ring 2. Because let's cut the crap. There will be an Elden Ring 2, no matter what anything says or does. It's signed, sealed, fate. Okay? Let's be real. And for Elden Ring 2, what I kind of think I would love personally is I would love it if a better mainline ending. It doesn't have to stop the others from existing at all, but I just wish it had a little more either fanfare or a little more duration. It does not need to be both, but I wish it either had a little bit more of a pageantry to it or if it had more time to it. Now, here's something I think would be kind of cool. They don't need to do this. They don't need to consider doing this. And if they do decide to do this, you don't even have to put my name in a special thanks to. You don't even have to say my name in an interview. You don't got to say my name, period, at all. But personally, and I do mean this quite genuinely, personally, I think it'd be really cool if when you completed the game your first time through, let's say, like me, you did the base Elden Lord ending first. Okay? What would be really cool is every time you complete the game, you're either given something that's specifically related to that ending of a item that you could only get through completing that ending. Now, I don't know if they did this in the current game. I really don't, because as much as I was going to try to finish another ending before now, I just didn't have enough time, which kind of sucks. But, oh well. It kind of would be nice to either make it so I could have my weapon grow with me some more, or make it so that this way my weapon's at least kind of looking cooler as I go. Just something. Some extra depth there. It would be kind of cool if, when I go into New Game Plus, if it didn't quite... It would be kind of cool for characters to kind of know that I'm the Elden Lord. I feel like it would be pretty neat and add a lot of replayability if they noted that, hey, this is the Elden Lord. Like, just for an example, let's say some character's talking smack to you. His buddy realizes who you are and says, shut up! It's the Elden Lord, you dumbass! Bow to him! We are sorry, Elden Lord! We are sorry! Let us kiss your boot! It'd be kind of nice if dialogue changed a bit because you are Elden Lord. Now, is that something that has to be in the game? Obviously not. Would it be something cool, though, and it would kind of make you go like, yo, they know I'm the Elden Lord and shit. Cool. It would. It'd be awesome. Especially if you got to, I don't know, interact with them a bit more. And no, I don't mean emotes. I mean actual dialogue options or being able to hear your character speak to them. And then watch them lose their freaking minds thinking that the Elden Lord has graced us with his words. Balsamore, you fool! It'd be kind of awesome just to watch them lose their minds or something, or even just acknowledge you're the Elden Lord even. That probably won't happen, but I just think it would be really cool if it was a little more to it than just, yay, I am Elden Lord. Time for me to forfeit all the Elden Lordy power and start the game from scratch as if I never existed to begin with. It kind of sucks because it's not that it cheapens endings or anything like that. It's just it would be cool if there was a bit more to it than just I am Elden Lord, now I'm not. Again, it's not a thing that's needed for Elden Ring 2. The only thing that's needed for Elden Ring 2, let's be honest, is for them to take their already damn solid blueprint that they have called the game they just made now, which is Elden Ring. As long as they just take that blueprint and put it somewhere and say, We did this, profit. For Elden Ring 2, do this, still profit. And that's it. They just need to keep in mind what they did right here and what was detrimental to its success, and then make sure they take that and make improvements as they go. I don't have any doubt there will be an Elden Ring 2. I'm beyond doubt of that. And I am excited for it, but I do hope that they keep doing what they've been doing so this way they can excel there too. Now for the score. For now, because you gotta remember, the only two issues that have really caused it to drop points at all, that is temporary. It will be fixed. Alright? It will be. For me, Elden Ring for now is an 8 out of 10 game. Now, let me make this clear. It is an 8 out of 10 for now. I have no illusion that it will become a 10 out of 10 game for me in the future. Now, does that mean that it's going to be that way for everyone? Sadly, no. But, in the end, that's not necessarily the worst thing to deal with. The facts are, as while it is an amazing game, I don't blame anyone for giving it a lower and lower score, with certain exceptions, within reason. I don't blame anyone if they say 6. I really don't, because there are some people who just aren't about that whole get good mentality. Some people don't want a game where they have to devote time to its learning curve and its figuring out timing and realizing what does or does not work. Some people don't want to put that kind in, and I don't blame them. So I don't blame them if they do go with a lower score. But for those like Ergetlim who loved the hell out of the game and had no real huge complaints about it, I don't blame them for a 10 out of 10 right now. And that's the thing, is I don't blame you if you give this game a 10 out of 10. Just like Ergetlim, I don't blame you if you give it a 10 out of 10. I don't. I get it. I can see it. I can understand it. The only reason it doesn't wind up as a 10 out of 10 for me is because I've had to fight its servers and fight to summon randos so much. That's literally it. And those two problems are going to go away eventually anyways. So no problem there. So just remember that this 8 out of 10 is, in every way, temporary. It's going to change to a 10 the moment those two problems are gone. And those problems are going to stay long anyways. Or at least I can't picture they'd stay long. Now, I know you're probably a little confused on why this came before Yakuza Like a Dragon. The very simple answer is just real life, once again, doing what real life does best and kind of screwing with time schedules. So, Yakuza Like a Dragon might be a little while. I do apologize for that. It's just real life loves doing exactly what real life does. So, I hope you all laughed at me, laughed with me, or, failing that, maybe got infinite number of jokes about how no housework has still been done. I will see you all next time. See ya.